You are listening 94.7 FM Sabrang Radio.
Welcome to Sabrang Radio. You're listening to Sabrang Radio's exclusive interview with Honorable Jason Kenny, the Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Multiculturalism of Canada.
My name is Rajesh and I am producer of Sabrang Radio.
Thank you very much.
We are one of the oldest radio program on FM here in the city of Calgary for the last 15 years. And we have programs in 6 simultaneous languages here.
Simultaneous?
Yes.
Okay.
Hindi, Gujarati, Urdu, Bengali. We also have a program 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's called Sabrang Sideband, which also comes at 94.7. Not FM, but people who have a cheap radio, a special radio. So we used to call it a community radio, just to get the news and what's happening here in Calgary. And apart from that, we also have a program 2 hours a week at Shaw Multicultural Television, which comes every Thursday at 10:30, at 10 o'clock in the evening, and 5:30 in the evening on Sundays.
We have a full package. That's what we want to cover it for the TV also as well as for the radio.
For the radio. So we'll take the audio for the FM program.
Our is the only radio station which having a timing in the prime time every day, like 8 to 9 during the weekdays. On Fairchild Radio, right from the beginning when the Fairchild started, first multicultural channel over here, radio station. So we have the program since that time. And every day, like South Asian people, they listen to the radio. I think this is the only source for the radio listeners. If they want to see any latest news or anything about that. Yeah, so we were first of all very happy, like you cleaned up a lot of the mess of the immigration issues. Like system, there were a lot of bugs in the system about the immigration fraud kind of things.
Yeah.
What are your future plans? How better you can do it?
Well, first of all, Canada is remarkably open to newcomers. When most other developed countries are reducing immigration levels, we actually welcomed the largest number of immigrants to Canada in 6 decades. Last year, we welcomed 281,000 new permanent residents, and that is the largest number in 57 years, the second largest number in 9 decades. So we do this because we believe that the hard work of newcomers can help fuel our economic growth in the future. We want to make sure, however, that immigration is characterized by a sense of fairness and respect for the rule of law, and that's why we are combating different forms of immigration fraud. For example, we are about to adopt in Parliament my Cracking Down on Crooked Immigration Consultants Act that will make it a criminal offence to operate as an unlicensed immigration consultant. We are increasing penalties for that kind of behavior. We are working with foreign governments like the Indian federal government as well as some of the state governments to better deal with counterfeit document vendors, fraudulent immigration consultants who frankly exploit people's dream of coming to Canada. And I will also be introducing measures in the near future to deal with the problem of marriage fraud, by which many people in Canada are exploited by foreigners seeking to use their marriage sponsorship as a basis for immigration to Canada. These are some of the things that we'll be taking on in the near future. At the same time, we plan to continue our robust levels of immigration. We are planning this year to receive as many as 265,000 new permanent residents. With more of a balance, Alberta has benefited enormously from our government's provincial nominee program. We've seen the number of immigrants coming to Alberta almost double in the past 5 years. This is in the past, almost all of the immigrants went to Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, even though many of the biggest job shortages were in Alberta and the West. And so now we're, as a result of our provincial nominee program, we're seeing a much better distribution of immigrants across Canada, including to Calgary and to Alberta. We intend to continue in that direction. And one last thing I would add, this year we will be, we are implementing our reforms to the refugee system. because for too long we've had false refugee claimants abusing Canada's generosity. Again, Canadians are very open, but they want to make sure that everyone comes in the legal way, respects the rules, and doesn't jump the immigration queue. And that's why Prime Minister Harper and I were yesterday touring the MV Sun Sea. This is one of the vessels that brought to Canada illegal migrants who had paid up to $50,000 to human smugglers to be brought to Canada in a very dangerous way. We've brought in Bill C-49 to Parliament, which would crack down on the smuggling criminals that are targeting Canada. We don't want illegal immigration like that undermining public support for Canada's generous approach to legal immigration. It's very important to reinforce that there are rules, they're fair for everyone, and everyone should respect them.
निर्मल पाजी ਇਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਕਾਰਡ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਦਾ ਐਡਰੈਸ ਤੇ ਪਵਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਪਰ ਹਲੇ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਤਿਆਰ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਈ।
ਕੀ ਦੱਸਾਂ ਕਾਕੇ, ਰੋਜ਼ ਹੀ ਇਹ ਵੈਬ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਵਾਲੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਤਿਆਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗੀ, ਪਰ 1 ਮਹੀਨਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹਾਲੇ ਤੱਕ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਦਾ ਕੁਝ ਅਤਾ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ। ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਵੈਬ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਵਾਲੇ ਤੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਪਰੇਸ਼ਾਨ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ।
ਰੋਜ਼ ਦੀ ਖੱਜਲ ਖਰਾਬੀ ਨੂੰ ਛੱਡੋ ਤੇ iWeb Guy ਵਾਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨ ਦਾ ਆਰਡਰ ਦੇ ਦਿਓ। ਜਿੱਥੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਕੰਪਨੀਆਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਨੂੰ ਤਿਆਰ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ 1 ਮਹੀਨਾ ਬੋਲ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਸੀ, ਉਸੇ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਨੂੰ iWeb Guy ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੇ 1 ਹਫ਼ਤੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਕਮਿਟਮੈਂਟ ਕੀਤਾ।
ਫੇਰ ਕਾਕਾ ਬਣ ਗਈ ਤੇਰੀ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ? ਬਣ
ਵੀ ਗਈ ਤੇ ਵੇਖੋ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ iWeb Guy ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ iwebguy.ca ਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਨੂੰ ਵੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ।
वेबसाइट डिजाइन, लोगो डिजाइन, ई-कॉमर्स और गूगल प्रमोशन के लिए कॉल करो 403-400-0203। ज्यादा जानकारी के लिए हमारी वेबसाइट iwebguy.ca पर ब्राउज करो। iWeb Guy, your affordable professionals. You're listening to Sabrang Radio's exclusive interview with Honorable Jason Kenny, the Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Multiculturalism of Canada.
Minister, you have just said about marriage fraud. Our program is very much focused to South Asian, and 100% of our listeners are South Asian. It's a very sad event. Even when we see people from our own society, from our continent coming here, jumping the line and bringing all these false documents. In the past, we have seen, not necessarily in citizenship or immigration, the area of immigration, but as a watchdog, with the Calgary Police Service, in certain projects, is the local community that can work as a watchdog. Have you been thinking anything such thing like that the community will be more involved because they know more? There is no language barrier, there is no social stigma, there is no cultural barrier there, and it's the local community who know more about what's happening in and around, who is the real husband or who is the real wife. So what do you?
Well, that's why we rely on people to identify when they're aware of fraudulent situations or crooked immigration consultants. We ask them to provide that information confidentially to the relevant law enforcement agency. So if someone is committing citizenship fraud, for example, they're applying for citizenship, but they actually haven't lived here for 3 years. That would be responsibility of the RCMP. If, on the other hand, they are involved in bringing a fake spouse to Canada under the spousal sponsorship program, that would be responsibility of Canada Border Services Agency. So we encourage people, that we all have a stake, we all have an interest in maintaining the rules because they are fair,
right,
to maintain the same fairness for everyone. So if people see abuses happening, we ask them confidentially to report that information. Our ministry has a hotline for immigration fraud. I don't have the number with me, but people can certainly go online and find out where to provide that information. We also, by the way, just launched an advertising campaign telling people to beware of unscrupulous and dishonest immigration consultants. Now, I want to be clear, there are many legitimate, honest immigration consultants who are licensed practitioners with CSIC, and we, I'm not talking about the legitimate people, but there are others who make false promises that they can guarantee people visas, guarantee them immigration status. Sometimes they will counsel people to make false refugee claims, or they will help construct false spousal sponsorship applications, or they will furnish fraudulent counterfeit documents. We see this problem particularly in certain parts of South Asia, and that is why I visited India as well as Philippines and China last fall, and sought greater cooperation from the federal Indian state government as well as the federal government of India and the Punjab state government in particular to help us combat the profiteers in the immigration industry who permanently damage people's chances of immigrating here. If someone goes to an agent and they fill out an application that includes fraudulent bank transcript or travel itinerary or marriage certificate, what have you, and my ministry catches these documents, that person's chances of ever coming to Canada are severely hampered. And so we ask people, act honestly, play by the rules, and you have a much better chance of coming to Canada.
ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੈਸਟੋਰੈਂਟ, ਫਾਰਮੇਸੀ, ਸਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਸਟੋਰ, ਕਲੀਨਿਕ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਜਿਹੀ ਕੰਪਨੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਓਨਰ ਹੋ ਅਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਪਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਸਟਮਰ ਤੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਵਧਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਬਣਵਾਓ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਕਸਟਮਰ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਦੇ ਆਰਡਰ ਅਤੇ ਸ਼ਿਪਿੰਗ ਘਰ ਬੈਠੇ ਕਰਵਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। iWebGuy ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਸਟੋਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਬਦੀਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ 100% ਰਿਟਰਨ ਔਨ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ। ਸਾਡੀ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ 4034000203 ਤੇ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਜਾਂ iWebGuy.ca ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਤੇ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਕਰੋ। iWebGuy। You're listening to Sabrang Radio's exclusive interview with Honorable Jasonkenny, the Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Multiculturalism of Canada.
And you just mentioned like you are visiting India. We recently noticed like you are visiting so much India recently. And what on the economically
What's special about India?
Special about India, like immigration and economically like India is booming?
Well, first of all, India is typically our top immigration source country. Sometimes it's China, but the two are essentially tied as a source country for immigration. So my ministry obviously has a very large office in New Delhi. We also have a large visa office in Chandigarh in Punjab. And so it's important for me to review those operations. But also our government, Prime Minister Harper, has prioritized the Canadian relationship with India because we are seeking large export markets, to develop large export markets for Canadian producers. And to some extent, Canadian policy in Asia has been, in the past by the Liberals, focused almost exclusively on China. China is important, but the previous government forgot all about India. And in fact, the previous government had downgraded the relationship with India because of some dispute over civilian nuclear technology in 1975. The Harper government put that dispute behind us. We supported India's accession to the Nuclear Suppliers Group and the IAEA. We have now signed a nuclear cooperation agreement with India to allow for the sharing of technical information in that industry. Those measures have put behind us 30 years of diplomatic problems and opened up all sorts of new possibilities. And so now the Prime Ministers Singh and Harper agreed to begin very exciting negotiations towards a prospective Canada-India free trade agreement. We have signed we're finalizing an investment protection and promotion agreement. We're seeing an increase in trade. We've opened new Canadian trade promotion offices in Ahmedabad, in Gujarat, in Hyderabad. We've increased the size of our office in Mumbai. We've opened a new office in Kolkata. Our government is trying to take a whole of India strategy. In the past, the focus tended to be only on northern India. We believe that Canada can benefit from immigration, trade, and tourism with the entire subcontinent. And that's why Prime Minister Harper visited Mumbai when he was in India, as have I. And that's why we've opened these additional trade offices in Chennai, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Ahmedabad, as well as increasing in Mumbai. So all of this is to say that there's a much bigger focus in our foreign policy, trade policy, immigration policy on India in general and the whole of the subcontinent. We're very excited about the prospects of this.
You recently signed the MOU also between India and bilateral free trade agreement?
We signed the beginning of negotiations, so it's not finalized yet. And then there are obviously
MOU is done, right?
well, there was an agreement to begin the negotiations, and there has certainly been a number of memoranda of understanding on different issues, including nuclear cooperation and agriculture, food processing. I'll give you one example in my own area. Where we have improved the situation with India. We have created something called Business Express Service for visas. So now those Indian companies whose employees frequently visit Canada can enroll in a special program with our High Commission in Delhi, and when they in turn sponsor employees or partners to travel to Canada.
You're listening to Sabrang Radio's exclusive interview with Honorable Jason Kenny, the Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Multiculturalism of Canada.
We provide accelerated visa service, 100% acceptance rate so far, with about 24-hour, 48-hour turnaround. So major employers with a lot of visits to Canada are getting superb visa service from us. Similarly, we have a student partnership program that is resulting in a tripling of the number of student visas being issued to Indian students to come and benefit from Canadian post-secondary education. This is a collaboration between my ministry and the Association of Canadian Community Colleges, which in turn is guaranteeing that we get a high quality of Indian students who have a good basic proficiency in English and are enrolled in a Canadian course of studies in a licensed Canadian institution rather than some of these dodgy non-accredited private institutions.
ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੈਸਟੋਰੈਂਟ, ਫਾਰਮੇਸੀ, ਸਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਸਟੋਰ, ਕਲੀਨਿਕ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਜਿਹੀ ਕੰਪਨੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਓਨਰ ਹੋ ਅਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਪਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਸਟਮਰ ਤੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਵਧਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਬਣਵਾਓ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਕਸਟਮਰ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਦੇ ਆਰਡਰ ਅਤੇ ਸ਼ਿਪਿੰਗ ਘਰ ਬੈਠੇ-ਬੈਠੇ ਕਰਵਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। iWeb Guy ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਸਟੋਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਬਦੀਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ 100% ਰਿਟਰਨ ਔਨ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ। ਸਾਡੀ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ 4034000203 ਤੇ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਜਾਂ iwebguy.ca ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਤੇ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਕਰੋ। iWeb Guy।
We're improving the quality of the Indian students coming to Canada and massively improving the acceptance rate, the processing time, and the number of Indian students coming to Canada. So the relationship is firing on all cylinders.
You're listening to Sabrang Radio's exclusive interview with Honorable Jason Kenny, the Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Multiculturalism of Canada.
Minister Kenny, among the South Asians living in Canada and particularly in Alberta, there's a rumor going recently, I think from the last week, that it will take to bring their grandparents about 15 years now. The processing time is between 12 and 15. It's just a rumor. It's just because people don't get into the details and they just say, oh, it's the conservative government. That will take 12 years to bring my grandparents. And I was just watching an interview at the CBC on the 14th of February. So if you can just clarify that part of it, that will it really take 12 years? Because we know that we are looking for people who will bring source of income to the Canadian society.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I can tell you that in the immigration plan we tabled to Parliament, we're actually planning to increase family class immigration to Canada this year. Last year we received just under 60,000 family class immigrants. This year, 2011, we're planning to receive as many as 65,500 family class immigrants. Now, the problem is that we are getting more and more applications from spouses and children.
ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੈਸਟੋਰੈਂਟ, ਫਾਰਮੇਸੀ, ਸਪਲੀਮੈਂਟ ਸਟੋਰ, ਕਲੀਨਿਕ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਜਿਹੀ ਕੰਪਨੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਓਨਰ ਹੋ ਅਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਪਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਸਟਮਰ ਤੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਵਧਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਬਣਵਾਓ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਕਸਟਮਰ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਦੇ ਆਰਡਰ ਅਤੇ ਸ਼ਿਪਿੰਗ ਘਰ ਬੈਠੇ-ਬੈਠੇ ਕਰਵਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। iWeb Guy ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਨੂੰ ਆਨਲਾਈਨ ਸਟੋਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਬਦੀਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ 100% ਰਿਟਰਨ ਔਨ ਇਨਵੈਸਟਮੈਂਟ। ਸਾਡੀ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ 4034000203 ਤੇ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਜਾਂ iwebguy.ca ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਤੇ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਕਰੋ। iWeb Guy।
The immigration law says that is the priority group within family class, that we must prioritize applications from husbands and wives and children in order to unite immediate families first. So when we see a growth in the number of applications for husbands, wives, and kids, we consequently see a slight reduction in how many parents and grandparents we can bring. Now, this is the problem we have. We have the highest level of immigration in the world, but there are far more people who would like to come to Canada than we can actually accommodate, even with our very, very high levels.
Right.
And so we have to make choices. And I think people are smart enough to understand this. We can't welcome everyone who wants to come in 1 year. Now, I know that most families that come would like to be able to sponsor parents or grandparents. Canada has the most...
You're listening to Sabrang Radio's exclusive interview with Honorable Jason Kenney, the Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Multiculturalism of Canada.
Generous family reunification immigration program in the world. We are the only developed country that allows grandparents to be sponsored.
Right.
One of the only countries that allows parents to be sponsored. But we must put children and spouses first.
Right.
And that is why, even though we're increasing family class, there will be relatively more spouses and kids as opposed to parents and grandparents. So parents and grandparents are going down by from a maximum of 18,000 last year to a maximum of 17,500 this year. Spouses and kids are going from 45,000 maximum up to 48,000. So as you can see, the total family class is going up.
3,000.
Yeah, yes, the total family class is going up,
yeah.
but that's mainly going up because of parents, spouses and kids.
Right.
And so we just ask people to have to be patient. Yes, it takes a long time for parents and grandparents to come through the system. And the reason is because, frankly, we are arguably too generous. We allow everyone to apply, and so it's a question of very simple math. If every year we get 30,000 applications for parents and grandparents, and we can only receive, say, 15,000 to 16,000, then the backlog is going to get longer and longer and longer every year. And so we have to... I invite people's ideas as to how to deal with that situation.
Right.
Now, I'll tell you one. If I was managing Canada's immigration program just for my party's political interest, I would say, bring all the parents and grandparents you want. But you know what that would result in? A massive reduction in public support for immigration, because Canadians say, we will support immigration as long as it works for Canada's economy.
Right.
Now, we all love our parents and grandparents, but when they arrive in Canada at 65 years of age, they're not in the tax-paying workforce. Yes, they may help around at home,
Right.
but ultimately, they will represent a cost of several $100,000 in healthcare and income support to Canadian taxpayers. We need to put the priority on younger immigrants who will pay taxes their whole lives, and that's what Canadians expect. So I ask people to understand that in any immigration program there have to be trade-offs. If they want to see their parents and grandparents, apply for a multiple entry visitor's visa, the vast majority of which are granted, or go back and visit them in the country of origin. But that's one way that people can see their parents and grandparents. When you decide to immigrate to Canada, there is no guarantee that you will be able to bring your parents and grandparents, and you are making that decision. Right. Canada's not making that decision, you are.
Right.
And we say, yes, we have a program for parents and grandparents, but it has to be limited. We have to put that priority on economic tax-paying younger immigrants in general, on spouses and children in particular, and then as space permits, we certainly do welcome parents and grandparents. I hope that explains.
Right, yeah, definitely.
You're listening to Sabrang Radio's exclusive interview with Honorable Jason Kenney, the Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Multiculturalism of Canada.
Mr. Kenny, in conclusion, if Rajesh maybe one or two you want to ask, just want to we want to share that we know that you are a human rights champion, and you have done so much. In particularly recently, you have helped Tibetans from India coming to Canada, and also the Iraqi Christians who are persecuted Iraqi Christians from Iraq coming to Canada. Do you have any other plans for other people as such who don't have their religious freedom in many other countries? And
I'm very concerned about the situation of vulnerable religious minorities.
You're listening to Sabrang Radio's exclusive interview with Honorable Jason Kenny, the Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Multiculturalism of Canada.
We have certainly raised, for example, I personally have raised with the President and Prime Minister of Pakistan the abuse of the blasphemy laws, which are used to intimidate members of minority religious communities. For example, Asya Bibi, who is a Pakistani Christian woman, I think falsely accused of blasphemy and now facing a death sentence. And Governor Salman Taseer of Pakistan Punjab province was assassinated because he went and visited this Christian woman in prison. This is a terrible thing, and we must, as Canadians, we believe in democracy and religious freedom. We must speak for vulnerable minorities who are victims only because of their religious faith. This is we have therefore emphasized the importance of protecting minority religious rights in Egypt in the context of the current revolution. 10% of the Egyptian population are Christians, typically Coptic Orthodox, and they have faced violence and persecution from extremists, and we need to ensure that the new Egyptian government protects that community. Similarly, I'm disturbed to see recent attacks on the Ahmadiyya community in Indonesia, as well as in the attack on their mosque in Lahore last year. And so we are looking at how we can use immigration policy on a very limited basis to assist those who may be facing particular risk. The Iraqi refugees who we're helping have fled their country. They're now living in Syria and Jordan. And they cannot go back. They are classic refugees, and so we are working with the United Nations to welcome some 20,000 Iraqi refugees over the course of 5 years. Similarly, as you mentioned, the Dalai Lama asked us to assist with to resettle some of the Tibetan refugees who fled India in the 1950s. Who fled China in the 1950s and who have been living in Arunachal Pradesh state. So anyway, we're bringing in about 1,000 of them because they were given us. The Indian government has been kind to those people. They gave them some land, but the population has grown. They can't afford to live there anymore in the small, cramped quarters, and so we're helping to resettle some of them. So we can't solve all the problems of the world. We're only one place, but we can do our part, and we certainly do lead. We receive more refugees per capita than any other country in the world, and I've certainly put a focus on vulnerable religious minorities.
You're listening to Sabrang Radio's exclusive interview with Honorable Jason Kenny, the Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Multiculturalism of Canada.
Our government has done that in our diplomacy, and we certainly are in our immigration and refugee programs.
And maybe more about the Dalits in India?
Of course I do, yes.
Do you have any special thing for them?
Well, we are concerned about some of the sectarian violence against Christian Dalits in Orissa and other parts of India. In the past couple of years, I've raised these matters with friends in the Indian government. We have huge friendship and respect for India. We think it's one of the world's great democracies. But we know that in that country of over 1 billion people, with all of the religious minorities, occasionally there are tensions. We don't seek to blame anyone. We simply ask that the responsible authorities do whatever they can to provide protection for vulnerable minorities, including the Dalits, who may be in some places Christian Dalits, who are subject to sectarian violence.
Every religion actually.
Exactly.
In Christianity, then in the Muslims, and
exactly.
The Hindu is like the worst one, you can say.
Yes. So obviously, Canada can't welcome as immigrants all of the Dalits in India because there's probably 100 times more than the entire population of Canada. But we can certainly raise the need to provide protection, and we congratulate India for the strides forward that it has taken towards equal protection and equal treatment. But of course, more can always be done.
You're listening to Sabrang Radio's exclusive interview with Honorable Jason Kenny, the Minister of Citizenship, Immigration and Multiculturalism of Canada.
And maybe you can come up with any recent atrocities, like where the 3 or 4 family members are murdered by the upper caste Hindus or the other people. And if 1 or 2 left back, and you can provide some special immigration to them.
When we have people who are facing unique, particular risk we are sometimes prepared to consider special measures in those cases on a very limited basis. But generally speaking, refugees under Canadian and international law are people who have fled their country because of a well-founded fear of persecution. Canada cannot realistically be an alternative for all of the people in the world who are facing troubles in their own countries of origin. That's just not realistic. On a very limited basis, we've done things to help. For example, last year we provided a special permit for the family of a little Christian girl in Pakistan who had been raped at the age of 3 because her father refused to convert. And we welcomed her family. So in some very rare cases like that, we can try to reach out. But generally speaking, refugees who are eligible for resettlement are people who have left their country of origin. Thank you very much
for your time, Minister Kenny.
Thank you. Those are all very good questions.
Yeah, that's it.